Plasma creates the stars. Plasma marks the Earth. Plasma origins.
What do crop circles and a Nobel Prize-winning molecule have in common? Well, the answer is plasma science. And today we're going to go inside the actual lab where ESS60 is manufactured to explore this incredible connection. Patty Greer, she spent years researching crop circle plasma phenomena before discovering that the same plasma science is used to create C60, the molecule that demonstrated 90% life extension in laboratory studies. And yeah, I take it every single day. So expect to see me around for quite a while. You see, that discovery led to her partner with Chris Burres, who is the scientist who actually makes ESS60 in his Texas facility. Now, today, Chris is giving us an exclusive tour of the lab, and Patty's going to explain how her crop circle research led her to this Nobel Prize science. Now, 2025 just marked the 40th anniversary of C60's discovery. Rice University celebrated with the original researchers. Chris and Patty, welcome back to the show. Patty, I want to just jump right into it. Let's start with you. You spent years researching crop circle plasma science. It sounds so crazy, but it's something that actually exists. How did that actually lead you to ESS60 and Chris?
You know, I only learned yesterday how. So
Really?
I'm kind of blown away. Yeah. When Chris finally opened the doors to take the public into the lab with the images, he showed the reactor machine that burns C60 at the heat of the sun, very complicated. And he finally, for the first time, explained the science to where I heard something I'd never heard. And it triggered my brain to the point where I was almost stopped the show. I was just like, wait. Did you just say that ESS60 burns at the heat of the sun and they're counter-rotating, spinning plasma fields inside this chamber? It triggered me because my little friend came over and just kicked in and reminded me that I made all these movies about crop circle science. Now, the movies weren't really about the science until the final film that got me suppressed like nothing you've ever seen, Crop Circle Diaries. It was movie number 8, and these wonderful little EB. This is
Wow. Look at that.
they're nasty. They're wonderful. And I've got
Wow.
5 of them around the house. I think there's another one hiding
Oh,
back
yeah.
there.
Look at that.
Yeah, I made a bunch of movies, and I had no idea how real the science was. But I was in this in the science group that was studying this formation. It was before I was going in crop circles. But turns out this is absolutely real. 409 circles placed on the Earth in a they're called Fibonacci sequence, a spiral of them, not just one, but a Fibonacci sequence, flawless mathematics. How that happened on a rainy night in less than 3 hours, they can't explain it. Well, there's one scientist in the world, and I met the woman that was a secret partner for the last 16 years of his life, and that made movie number 8, which was Crop Circle Diaries. And it was the end of my career, which I didn't realize,
Oh,
because
wow.
I made this movie, and then I had very dramatic attempts to kill me, which was awful. And I didn't realize because I was so green. I went in 100 crop circles in England like a dancing hippie. Like, oh my God, look at the hair standing up on my arms. And I'm a girl, so they're like teeny hairs, but the top of my head, I'm like, what's going on with my body? This is not normal. So I just kept coming back every year, going in crop circles, carrying these cameras. I had no idea that the CIA was breathing down my neck, or whoever they are, little alphabet people. But
Yeah.
I had no idea the reason that there were all of a sudden 235 stores selling my movies on Amazon. Instead of $20, they were up to $750 to
What?
really make an effort to try and destroy my ability to sell movies. And then my personally written music had 5 copyright claims. Like people were claiming my original music behind my soundtracks. It was so fraudulent. And so I was never like a deep state watcher. The UFO field, I was touring with all the greats for 10 years. The big names are all in my movies. And then in 2015, 16, 17, 18, they died. They all died. And I don't want to go dramatic, but I got hit with a really dirty weapon and hit the floor at an airport and suffered badly in 2017.
But
And
Patty, if I can, I want to bring it back to something you said about the hairs standing up and the Fibonacci sequence and the counter rotating elements inside these crop circles and how many there were. You mentioned the rainy nights and how can this happen, but plasma can exist in any environment. I would assume. I'm not a scientist like Chris here. I'm sure Chris will explain it, but if I'm processing this correctly, the way that these crop circles are created is through some high intensity plasma field that is able to drop down into this location and have its spinning function create these marks in the earth, and they happen to be in these fields. Am I processing this right?
yeah, they're patterns that lead humans and whatever else is flying over to have a message delivered to our brains. Like they're pictures, they're even binary codes. There's all kinds of codes and languages that everybody understands, which is pictograms. When all of us see a hummingbird in a field of wheat that wasn't there yesterday, when it's half an acre, it's like, wow, that's impressive. And then when you walk into the field and all the little hairs in your body tingles, you notice that it's an enhanced, some kind of electromagnetic field enhancement.
Because something has happened in that location that is now electromagnetically charged the area because of the plasma particles.
Yes.
So let's go to the connection between the crop circles and the molecule itself. So why is this so significant? Like, what was that moment that just like, holy cow, like you're there looking at it and it all became clear, the connection?
Well, the man that did the research, this is William Levengood, and that's all of his research. I met him a year after he died, which is a weird thing to say, but it's in my final film, How I Met William Levengood. And ultimately, he was the only scientist that was a plant and soil guy for 50 years. And then somebody brought him some crop circle wheat nodes that were bent at a 90-degree angle, which I have back there in a bottle.
90-degree angle.
90-degree angle.
A perfect 90-degree angle.
Yes. And there's thousands of them in the fields that are laid. And it's so mind-boggling. We should probably do a show someday on just crop circles.
Seriously.
It's astounding. But William Levengood and Penny Kelly, who I still do shows with, and she's in my final film, they finally brought it down to the fact that if they could reinvent crop circle technology, which they did with this machine, then they could get the same results as are happening in crop circles.
Wait a second. Wait, show me that again. Show me that again. I want to see that. Okay, so that's the machine they created to recreate same crop circle technology.
Yes.
Holy cow. Okay, so it's becoming clear. Now I'm starting to see where it's leading to, Chris. This is amazing. And the result
is a lot more food and biofuel per plant. I'm just going to read you 3 sentences from William Levengood, and then I'm going to go to what Chris said yesterday that just torched me. So here's what William Levengood said. There's a plasma vortex happening in the field, wheat, corn, barley, in a place that always has underneath water, like all crop circles are sitting over an aquifer, almost all, and they're also on a ley line between sacred sites on a map. So 96%, both of those facts. He said, there's a plasma vortex operating in the field when this happens. A plasma vortex is like a whirling tornado of different kinds of energies, sometimes up to 10 different kinds of frequencies, such as microwave, ion electron avalanche energies, thermogradients, convective stability, and there are other areas that are undergoing turbulence. There are electrical fields, and all those energies have very distinct and specific boundary conditions. The plasma vortices travel in counter-rotating pairs to create crop circles. They are interacting with the planet itself, which has electrical fields, rivers, and currents that move across the surface of the Earth. They are always there, and they are always going to interact. Everything is plasma. Bottom line, we are plasma. This is plasma. Everything is plasma. And when we spin plasma, we can actually create matter in one direction and we can destroy matter in the opposite
Oh my
direction.
goodness.
Directed energy weapons, for instance.
Holy cow.
Rolling the plasma field in a negative with intention of harming someone, or creating charge density plasma in a positive intention between this beautiful, simple science of charge density plasma. All I know is it was said at 30, whatever that means. I'm hoping some smart guy is going to go, I'm not scared of the deep state. I'm going to reinvent that machine because it is so simple. And the results were...
So wait, where's that machine?
It was in the lab when he died, and Penny did not get the estate, which unfortunately I don't know where.
So we don't know where that machine is right now?
No. Or
Oh
the whole pile of evidence. And the guy that was documenting it all used to talk to me, and then he quit talking to me. So it's very...
Patty, it makes me so angry because I have heard this story a million times. You have a scientist who creates something, it's groundbreaking, and they die, and then all of the technology is gone. I mean, look what happened with Tesla. Look what happened with Stanley Meyer and his water-powered car. Like, all these breakthrough technologies are there, they exist, and then the scientist goes, and then we never see it again, and it makes me angry.
Okay.
But the good news is that Chris is here, and he's going to tell us how these technologies are being harnessed, because all is not lost.
No.
I want to get into this lab tour because we're talking 40 years of research. Chris, Rice University celebrated this anniversary. I want to go through this reactor because now we have established the connection to the science, and you're the scientist on the other side of it who's doing the creating. Patty was just explaining how the creative forces, destructive forces, and of course, you're harnessing the positive side of it, and that's why we have this positive output that I can experience and our viewers can experience every single day. And of course, if people want to take advantage of that, hit the links in the description. But Chris, please, take it away.
Yeah. So this is what I was talking about yesterday when it kind of all kind of warped into Patty's brain and she put it all together. So I've got a little slide. I've been our lab, the lab behind C60 Evo, is the oldest and longest manufacturer of this molecule on the planet, a manufacturer and distributor. And so you're looking at this reactor. This is the way to make this molecule in bulk. And let me start with, right, because we're talking about a health supplement. It's always nice to know that what's in your health supplement is healthy and natural, right? The first thing is there's only 2 ingredients in our product. It's olive oil and the ESS60 molecule. Olive oil, of course, natural, and the ESS60 molecule is also natural. So everyone in your audience, whether they've tried our product or not, has been exposed to the ESS60 molecule. And I offer up as evidence, if you just collect the soot from a candle flame, and you might do that by putting a cold steel plate over a candle flame, that deep dark soot will have parts per million or parts per billion of the ESS60 molecule. That's too small of a quantity, so we actually have to manufacture it in a reactor such as this. This is the primitive action. I think this drawing is actually from the old patent, which is so expired at this point, for manufacturing this ESS60 molecule. The key components here, you see right in the center, you've got graphite rods. Those are vaporized, and it turns out that graphite is one of the hardest materials on the planet to vaporize. It actually takes local temperatures of the sun, so a couple things to note. You've got this water cooling. It's actually, everything is water cooled all over this reactor because there's so much heat in this reaction. You can also see the window. That's that looking glass to watch the reaction.
So you can actually look inside and see the reaction taking place?
Yes. Now, you do have to wear welder's goggles.
Wait, hang on. But then the cooling water, is that flowing on the outside of the tank? So you
Yeah,
got the
it's
reactor. It's actually happening inside, but there's a cooling shield around the exterior.
exactly, right? So
Okay.
everything around this is at least 2 layers thick so that you've got room for the water to flow and actually cool down. So yeah, the entire thing has to be cooled. And then you've got that window. Yeah, you can watch the reaction, but you do need to wear welder's goggles. If you
Mm.
watch this without the welder's goggles, you will burn out your retina. And in fact, if you let that light shine on your skin, you'll get a sunburn because it is local temperatures of the sun. And it's the fact that if you allow these graphite rods to just burn without rotating, they'll actually start to create a point, right? They don't burn evenly and they tend to skew and make this odd tip, which is actually not conducive to production. So you have to rotate them in opposite directions. And that
Wow.
this is a plasma. That opposite rotation is the thing that kind of warped into Patty's brain. It's like, well, this is what I've been working on all along.
Dude, that's fascinating.
Right?
I mean, I did not know. I mean, we've had you here before. We've talked about the product, the molecule, but understanding how it's actually produced is just as fascinating.
Yeah.
Now, walk us through the slides. I want to see what's going on here. So this is what was this? This is 10% of the fullerene soot with the valuable molecules, 90% waste.
Yeah, if you think about this graphite rod as you're vaporizing it, it's creating a soot, and we call it a fullerenic soot. That soot, fullerenes actually is a collection of molecules. The most abundant of them is the carbon-60 molecule. But 90% of that soot is actually garbage. And you end up with this fullerene, toluene extracted soot. Now, how do you separate 90% carbon garbage from fullerenes? Well, kind of like if you had sugar and sand mixed together, you would dissolve the sugar in water and you would filter that. The sand would stay on top of the filter. The sugar would go through with the water in solution through the filter, and then you would boil off the water, and now you've got your pure sugar, no sand. Same process for this. We actually take that fullerenic soot, we dissolve it in a solvent, say like toluene, that filters, that 90% of garbage stays on top of the filter and then comes through in solution as the fullerenic soot, the fullerenic extract at this point. So we actually would call this fullerene extract. And now that extract is made up of a number of different carbon molecules. You've got the soccer ball shaped C60, you've got the more kind of rugby shaped C70, you've got C74, the higher fullerenes all the way on up. It continues quite high. The most abundant are the C60 and the C70. So now, in order to get down to the process where you're making ESS60, which is for people and pets, you've got to first isolate that C60. In order to isolate that C60, use a chromatography process. Now, I'm going to forward ahead because we actually have in our lab, I'm going to skip through some of these, pretend you're not seeing this. This right here, so this is my business partner Robert and I in the lab. This is an HPLC, a high pressure chromatography cone. Yeah, liquid chromatography. I don't know why that disappeared. High pressure liquid chromatography. This, and you can see this little silver column here, that's got a material in it, and that material, and this one may show it a little better. So this material in this column will allow the different molecules to flow through at different rates. Right? So if we go back to our graph here, the different rates show up here where C60 comes through first, C70 comes through next. And so that's the way that you can test the purity. It's also the fundamental science behind how you get pure material. Use a chromatography column, much bigger than that little tiny column, and you only grab the C60 fraction. Now you make a high quality C60. And then you actually have to go through further processes to turn it into something that's good for people and pets.
That's fascinating. My brain is just going like right now because I can see the process, I can understand it, and I'm sure our viewers are watching on. Yeah, it makes sense how you're filtering it because a long time ago I actually used to buy old cell phones and I would take the old cell phones. A lot of the old cell phones had tremendous amounts of gold plate in them, and I would scrape off all of the elements off of the boards and had the raw boards, and I would soak the boards in acid, and then I would basically dissolve everything, and then I would have to extract the gold from the acid using a process similar to what you're talking about. And because I'm not a scientist, I was never very successful, and I probably should have not been doing it in a garage, and probably should have had proper ventilation. But thankfully, I survived. Had a couple beaker explosions due to improper heating, because I'm not a scientist. I'm sure, Chris, you could relate to some of those
100%.
things.
We had long ago we had some explosions, right, related to trying different processes. Again, you're dealing with the temperature of the sun, so having some explosions.
Yeah.
Not a surprise.
Yeah, I'm dealing with like a plate, like a cooking plate and a beaker filled with the green solution that you could clearly tell that that's the gold that's in the solution. You got to get the gold to drop from that solution. And then if you don't do it correctly with the right percentages of the counter solution, then it doesn't drop properly, and then you just end up getting a ball of garbage at the end, because I could never get it done right. And anyway, I should have called you if I'd have known you. Chris, I got these boards. Let's go to business, Anyway.
It's super cool that you went down that path, though. Like, so cool.
Yeah, no, I totally was trying to do it. And my wife's like, what the hell are you doing in the garage? Like, and then I started researching the fumes that were coming out. I'm like, man, I better figure out some ventilation. Anyway, that was a long time ago. Times are different now. I don't have to
point
rely
out, you'll see here, this is when we've got open containers. That is the ventilation.
Yeah, I went to Home Depot and I'm like, I'm gonna have to make a ventilation system. Let's get some piping and some PVC and some fans, etc. And and I eventually just gave up. But anyway, I got some old boards in the garage now, if you want to help me out. But okay, so let's go to these. I want to see some of these images here, because there's the big molecule I saw hanging in the lobby there.
Yeah,
it's incredible stuff,
cool.
though.
As we're building out, kind of expanding the facility, we're like, hey, let's pay homage to the molecule. It is there's a book called The Most Beautiful Molecule, and you can see why. It is an absolutely gorgeous molecule. There's 6 planes of symmetry through this molecule, which makes it one of the most resilient molecules. Period. I love the fact you can fire it at 15,000 miles an hour at a plate of steel. Most molecules will just shred apart. I kind of picture this, the ball collapsing and then springing right back. It is an amazing molecule. This is our.
It makes me think about the beauty of God and how He has created everything with such perfection, down to the molecular level. And it just makes me just give glory to Him because of that. I think about it. Every day I look at creation and I see something as small as that with the perfection it is. These massive chambers. You got the scientists, American Texas flags, all happening in the U.S. Talk to us about are these the actual reactors now?
Yeah. So, these are the actual mixing tanks. The reactor has some proprietary components on it, so we really don't release photos. Yeah, I know. It looks like this.
It looks like this. Yeah, of course it does. Yeah. Look at the patent, guys. Look at the patent, right?
The fundamentals are basically the same. How you make it work faster and more efficiently and cleaner. Think about this. If you were to hold the fullerenic soot, right, in your hand, kind of like an ink toner, and were to drop it, none of it would hit the ground. It is so light and fluffy, it would just float into the air. So how do you manage that facility when 90% of what you're creating is that fluffy garbage, and then you're after that 10%? And then, and I didn't really highlight that, of the 10%, it's only about 80% is the C60 molecule. Right. So it's like a fraction of a fraction of a fraction after you've created it at the temperature of the sun. That's, part of the reason that, our supplement is not even close to the most expensive supplement on the market. Not even close. But it's not an inexpensive supplement. And you're probably understanding why that's true now.
Yeah.
So in terms of facility, when we started kind of expanding, the first thing is like, let's be thrifty, let's do smart things. This is actually a beer tank. This is a tank that you would make beer in, and we have modified it so that you can have a continuously flowing mixer. And when I really designed this facility, this manufacturing space, I was like, if we take this tank or even this kind of slightly larger tank, and we kind of parse them out, we could have 10 times the production. And then the team started buying these. And so, I don't know, we have like 50 times our production from the early days. A couple things to note. You'll see this blue tube and these tubes along the wall. Those are connected to a nitrogen tank. As you're mixing this.
Which tubes are you pointing to?
Yeah, so they're right here. There's one
I
tube
see.
that's fairly clear in between those tanks, and then these tubes on the wall, those are nitrogen tubes, because as you're mixing this, there's a big vortex in the tank, and if you had that vortex oxygen in that space, then it would be folding oxygen into the oil. You definitely don't want to do that, so we have this nitrogen buffer gas, which is an inert gas, so it doesn't interact with either the ESS60 molecule nor with the olive oil. And so, yeah, we've got a lot of production capability here, and it's done well. We are a GMP facility. That's good manufacturing processes facility. I think I've got another slide. This is just Robert doing some QA, QC. This is the flow meter for that nitrogen going into the nitrogen buffer gas going in. There's mixers down here. We mix it. I think Patty mentioned this, but we mix it. This is our director of research. We mix this for 3 weeks. And one of the things we tested 22 of the products on.
You're mixing what? You're mixing what? Is that where the olive oil is mixed with it, or is
that's the olive oil and the ESS60 powder
being mixed for 3 weeks?
3 weeks.
And then is there a process? Because I know from like basic science when I was in, high school, like if you wanted to make a sugar stick, you would take your water and you'd heat the water, and then you would pour your sugar into the water, oversaturate the water so that the sugar is absorbed into the water molecule, and then when you put your stick or your whatever inside that jar and let it cool, the molecules then attach itself that are left over, that when it decides to return to its state, attached to that stick that's inside. So that's my understanding, that you are maybe. Is my thinking process?
So your logic is exactly right? So our typical olive oil has about 0.8 milligrams per milliliter of the ESS60 molecule, and that's the saturation point. And if we were to elevate the temperature, we could get more to dissolve. The thing is as you reduce the temperature, as you bring it back to room temperature, the molecules start to sublimate out, so they start to go back to the powder state, to the crystalline state. It turns out that powder, the ESS60 molecule, is not water soluble, and so it's basically not bioavailable. Again, if you had a powder, a pile of this black powder in your hand, if it's ESS60, for human and pets, then you could consume it. But it wouldn't be, you would just excrete it out. It's not water soluble. That's why it's so important to dissolve, in our case, and in this case, in olive oil, so that you get that crystalline black powder broken down to the individual ESS60 molecules. And now it's basically infinitely more bioavailable. And so you're right. Yeah, we could supersaturate it. The problem is that it just precipitates out as you cool it down. And yeah, making rock candy was always a blast, either on a string or on a stick. Yeah, basically it's supersaturated, and as it cools, it's precipitating out onto the string or the stick.
So so you got the Tunisian olive oil.
Yep.
21 days long. But why does it take that long? Like, why not 30 days? Why not 14 days?
Yeah, so it's interesting. We tested 22 of the products on what we would call the industrial C60 space, and they were woefully low in concentration. And I'm pretty altruistic. I kind of believe that people aren't doing things on purpose, Like they just more likely don't know what they're doing. And I think the reason is we spin it for 3 weeks. And the reason we know that we had to spin it for 3 weeks is because we have this little device here called an HPLC, high performance or high pressure liquid chromatography. Both terms work. And that actually allows us, it's in-house, so it allows us to test without additional cost. You can imagine if you have to ship it out and you're in the middle of a production run, you're like, do we do the production run on hold? Like, we send it out, that's got a cost to it. No, we just log it across
that's a
the lab.
severe bottleneck for production, for sure.
Exactly. So we believe in that original paper, they were using an Erlenmeyer flask. That's that classic kind of triangular flask.
Yeah, that's the one that blew up in my garage.
Yeah, that's the one that blew up, right? So it typically takes 2 weeks in those smaller flasks. And we think what people are doing is they're shifting to this size container, this size of production, and they're not testing as frequently. And so they're just going for 2 weeks and they're ending up with a product that's woefully low in concentration. So because we have the HPLC, we could see, oh, it's not fully concentrated yet, and we keep running it. And now we know what it works and we test every batch. We don't have to test hourly. Now we just test towards the end of the batch. We know what the concentration should be.
And the consistency for every batch, I'm sure you've got it down obviously to a science here.
Yeah.
But the consistency, because you don't have to test it every hour, you don't have to worry. So that's why you can wait to the test at the end, because your results have been consistent every time.
Exactly.
So every single batch is virtually identical to the last because you've broken it down to that specific timeline.
Yeah. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And you did ask the question 3 weeks. It just turns out that this molecule is not that soluble, right? Think of it this way. When you pour that first teaspoon of sugar into a cup of water, it's gone instantly, right? And as you start to add more, maybe you're not even raising the temperature, it starts to get harder and harder to dissolve. If you spin it long enough, right, it'll find a free water molecule and it will attach to it, and now it's dissolved. It just takes a lot longer for this. And if you were thinking,
so then when you're spinning it, it's like, okay, you can't spin it anymore. There's nowhere else for it to go. And you figured out that time frame is the perfect time frame, because if you went to 22 days, there is no difference. You went to 23, there's no difference. But you've isolated the perfect point in time when full saturation has been achieved at 21 days.
Exactly, in a vessel this big, because again, the fluid dynamics in an Erlenmeyer flask and this vessel are very different, right? You've just got much bigger volumes that you're dealing with, and that's why it ends up taking longer. And I like to point out, if you woke up today and said, "Hey, I want to make money doing supplements," you might not choose this one, right? Because it takes, right? Well, one, you've got to manufacture it with a reactor that requires temperatures of the sun, right? That's so many challenges there. I mean,
that's not something I'm doing in my garage, Chris. Right. Hey, honey, don't worry. I'm just recreating the temperatures of the sun, right? That doesn't work like that.
Recreating crop circle science.
Yeah, and the plasma science. Tell me about that, because let's bring it back to that point that Patty was her aha moment with the plasma. So the plasma fields are being generated in the counter rotation and all this. Please bring it back. And I want to get to the study from Paris real quick too, because we need to talk about that.
Yeah, so again, in order to vaporize graphite, you need local temperatures of the sun. That is a plasma. You've got that plasma between these. It actually makes a beautiful, classic, magnetic. You see magnetic fields between magnets, right? Sometimes where they're curved. So that's actually what it looks like when you're looking through those welder's goggles. And then you have to rotate them in opposite directions. And that's that kind of reverse rotation plasma that triggered kind of the association with Patty yesterday.
So if I was in your lab, I could put on the welding goggles and I could look into the reactor and I can actually see the plasma field that is being generated at that moment when the graphite is interacting with the temperature.
Yep, exactly.
That's crazy.
And it makes a lot of noise. There's a lot of temperature. It can be nerve-wracking until you get used to it, right? Because there's a lot of humming going on to get that level of plasma.
So that takes place in like a secret location inside your lab that you can only walk into with like a biometric identifier and that kind of thing.
No.
keep it
I'm
very
just kidding.
secure.
I'm just kidding.
And no, we
But-
do actually,
Oh.
and we actually do it at a separate facility because it's so dirty.
Wow.
When did you move it?
Yeah, it's at a separate facility because that's the thing that makes sense.
Oh, so
Wow.
when Chris and I met, it was because I had just freshly been wounded by a uranium poisoning. It was left in my garage for me as a gift. And Chris met me when I was 25 pounds less in a short period of time, starting to faint. And luckily, somebody started giving me the ESS 60 from his lab. At that time, it was just C60, and it might have been industrial, but no, it wasn't. It was from Chris's lab. So I started having amazing improvements. But what a blessing. And I just wanted to say, Gary, that for a long time, we've done shows with you where you were jealous of my 32-ounce big, and now you've got one.
I
So
got my own now.
I
My
know.
precious. My
I have
precious.
mine too. And people can buy the 32-ounce bottle if you want to go big on your body. But I'll say that when Chris and I met on the phone, we had a few conversations, and when we realized I bring this, he brings that, which is basically I always wear like a shirt that feels like this one today is science and mandalas, or the atomic, the atom and mandalas. I just feel like today I'm blending his science and what I remember from ufology from the crop circles. But you were talking about God. I just feel like it brought me into a real God space to realize that maybe everything is the same basic scientific method of spinning plasma with intention. And intention is really important because when crop circles happen, it's not an accident that there's this pattern. They were
Yeah.
telling us something, and then the guy that owns the research center said, I walked the entire field at 5:30 in the morning. There was no footprints anywhere, and it rained all night. So I knew it was real. I've known it was real all along, but to realize that maybe when we start adding intention to spinning plasma fields, we're going to be able to create the world that we want to see.
Oh, I
And,
can't wait. Well,
and
and that's what you guys are doing too with your own plasma fields is you are making the world a better place by using the tools that exist in nature through God's scientific plan that he put in place to provide us with this product. And the changes in my life, I know we haven't really talked about the product as much, but the changes in my life, it's religious for me now that I take it every single morning. Like literally, it's on my nightstand, and I wake up. The first thing I do is I drink some water, a little bit of salt, and some creatine. And then I have another product I put in that from another one of our sponsors, actually. And I drink that. And but if I'm taking the capsules, no capsule, my capsule bottle is actually on my nightstand right now. But if I take the capsules, I'll do that with the water, or I'll just drink the water and then I'll pour out the olive oil, and I'll take that. That's the first thing I do in the morning. Now, I have to say, and I mentioned this to you before, is I do love the product, but taking the capsules for me is, I guess it's not as enriching personally and physically, psychologically, because I do enjoy the taste of it. And the taste is the instant feedback that I receive physically that I know something has occurred. It's like the feedback that I need to understand that something's happened. When I take a pill, it's like, oh, I take a pill. But the taste, the flavor gives me that satisfaction, understanding that I can proceed with the day or whatever. But the point I'm trying to make is that that's my morning ritual, and it has been since I've been receiving these products. And I'm just going to tell you, my productivity level, my mental focus, just the way my personal executable methodologies, I mean, just brain function has been in just the last, I'd say, two months even. Now, you guys have been sending me this stuff for a while, but in the last 2 months, it's accelerated, I believe, and I think that something has, gotten even better. Now, I'm not sure if that's because I've been taking it for such a long duration, where my body is starting to optimize it on a regular basis. I don't know, maybe Chris, you understand some of the science behind that and long-term ingestion versus short-term, and how things kind of develop and structure your body. But from what I've experienced, it's been nothing sort of life-changing. Certain things other projects I've been working on in the background have flourished and prospered, and the creative, my mind has a way of visualizing and executing from conception to finality in a way that, I don't know, it's just how I function. I can do things just visualized to execution. But when in the last several months, it's been heightened to a point where I'm able to it kind of feels like, I hate to say it, like kind of superhuman, but this is my personal testimony with respect to that. And this is only talking about the ingestion part of it, not even talking about the physical application of the product to my face, or my wife using the creams, or the skin. I mean, my friends have told me my skin looks amazing, and putting it in my body, on top of my body, the lip balms, everything, like the benefits are overwhelming. So maybe, Chris, I don't know if you can help me understand what is happening in my body and why am I feeling this level of clarity after taking it for so long.
So I'm going to break this down in kind of two pieces, and we'll probably kind of reconvene and get super deep into the science. I'm going to put together some slides, and I think that'll be fun for me, maybe interesting for other people. So I'm going to say what we fundamentally believe is happening is we're reducing the negative impact of stressed mitochondria, right? Mitochondria, powerhouse of every cell. There's between 50 and 5,000 mitochondria in every cell in your body, except for your blood cells, which have 0, and your brain and neurons, which have 2 million. So it's really important. I mean, if you're focused on anything, think about this. A lot of supplement companies out there are really excited and proud, and they share like, our supplement works at the cellular level. And they should, because there are supplements that don't even work at the cellular level, right? They don't. We believe that ours works at the subcellular level. So inside the cells is the mitochondria, the powerhouse of the cells. Right. And we know from peer-reviewed published research, the molecule gets in there. And if you're reducing the negative impact of stressed mitochondria, then you're going to have these systemic benefits, right? These head-to-toe testimonials, which is exactly something that we have. And then to kind of map out what people might expect on the product, we think of it in terms of a 3-month experience.
Wow.
It has a lot of parallels with our consistent testimonial, which our most consistent testimonial is people take the product in the morning, they report mental focus and energy during the day, and then better sleep that night. It's always interesting to stop here.
Wait. I'm gonna stop you right here, because you just said 3 months. That's what you just said. 3 months, and that would put me. I mean, you guys have been coming on for several months now, and this would probably be in that window, clearly within that window, except for that moment when I ran out of the product for that short period of time, which my body may have reset or readapted to the lack thereof. So there could have been a physical reset, but now that I have the consistency, and you guys were gracious enough to send me the products to have, so I wouldn't run out. That makes perfect sense. Yeah. What you just said.
Yeah. Yeah, so we map this out, say month 1 is focus and energy, right? And I kind of lean on one particular testimonial that resonated with me. We gave some product to this influencer. She gave us recorded a video that same evening. And in that video pointed out that she didn't finish her cup of coffee. Now, if you're a coffee drinker, like that's a big deal, right? 1, that you don't finish it, and 2, that you actually notice it, right? Like how many times you're like, oh, the surprise today, I didn't finish my cup of coffee. And I'll share, I used to be a 2 to 3 a day cup of coffee kind of guy. I'm now down to one or maybe even a half. It's more about the ritual and making the coffee when I get to the office and the
well, I mean, the
smell.
smell, you know, I mean, come on, the smell.
It smells amazing, right?
Yeah.
So, and there are also some implications. The data is really clear. If you replace saturated fats with a high quality fat like olive oil, which is this, one of the two ingredients in our product, you'll have some fat loss or weight loss implications there. So that's
if I could just pause it for 1 second, because you did mention the putting fats into the thing, because I know people use bulletproof coffee. That's one of the big things, and that's the MCT oil that people use to make bulletproof coffee. Now, I could only imagine what would happen if I was drinking bulletproof coffee every day, but I was instead of using this product instead of just some run-of-the-mill MCT, because this is like supercharged MCT. That's something I have not experimented with, but I could only imagine. Like, this bottle is still sealed, and because I've been enjoying the olive oil so much, but the coconut oil is, I mean, I have my own reasons, because I like the olive oil. It has more strength, it's stronger, more concentrated, and I don't drink coffee, so I don't have a need to do that. My wife, she is trying to get off the caffeine, and so maybe having her add this to her coffee would then incorporate her morning routine, and then she'll be able to have the benefit. Because I always try to remind her, hey, did you have your Evo today? Do you have your Evo today? Because I leave a tablespoon on my nightstand, so that, when I wake up, I always remind her, make sure you take it. Did you take this? And because I finished the one bottle and I've been taking the pills, it has the routine hasn't been sort of reestablished for her to take the pill as opposed to taking a little teaspoon. But this actually makes sense.
I'll share my daily routine, right? By the way, prior to this being my routine, when I was, taking it kind of haphazardly, if I got to like 3 o'clock in the afternoon and I felt like I needed another cup of coffee or I needed a nap or something, I could always look back and I hadn't taken my C60 Evo that morning. So that's why it's really important that it becomes part of your routine. So what I do is I put about 1.5 teaspoons in my coffee of the MCT. So that's oil and water.
A teaspoon and a half.
Just 1.5 teaspoons, yeah.
Okay.
And so while that's blending, because it's oil and water to get it to mix or blend, then I take 1.5 teaspoons of the olive oil product. So that's rock solid in my schedule every single day. And then we'll do, sometimes we've done shots on your show. We'll do some shots throughout the day from time to time. If it's a longer day, honestly, I've had a tickle in my throat really last week. Came on really strong on Tuesday. I think I quadrupled my servings and it never landed. Like, I just feel like I used to be the guy who would get sick 4 times a year.
So I was getting sick. It was going through my whole house during the holiday season, and I'm religiously taking the C60. It never hit me. Eventually it hit me last weekend. But I never stopped taking the C60. I knew it. I knew it was coming on. I could feel it, and the evidence was everywhere in my house. But when it hit me, it only lasted for like 12 to 24 hours, as opposed to a prolonged cold or flu, where the rest of my family is going through hell, with coughing fits and, just, it's a nasty cold and flu. Yeah. But it only hit me for a very short amount of time, and it wasn't even that intense. And it's probably because my body's defenses were already built up to knock these things out. And so I know we're probably running a lot longer than we normally do, but I'm enjoying this.
That the immunity has been proven. It's peer reviewed. The ESS60 molecule delivers 125 times more power than vitamin C as an antioxidant. And non-peer reviewed is 172 times, 100 times more powerful than vitamin C. Should impress anyone. And this is more than that. So I've had everybody sick around me, and I'm not sick, and I'm not going there. But we can't claim, Chris doesn't let me, that it'll help because he's smart enough to know the rules and regs. I, on the other hand, hippie chick, I've been sending Bobby some bottles of Evo, and my friend that connects us, she said, no, he's tried it. I'm like, well, I want to hear from him, but that's okay. I just want to send him and Mr. Don the big bottle,
Oh
because
yeah.
this is the way to make friends. And, if we don't think there's enough progress, we're not remembering where we were a year ago. This is
Yeah.
huge. This
Yeah.
is huge.
Yeah.
And what they just did with the kids' vaccines, to kill kids.
Yeah, we don't yeah, certain things we can't, talk
Okay,
about on
good
YouTube.
point. Sorry.
But yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Progress.
Right.
And the fact that Bobby knows about C60 Evo, and I like to say Bobby because I have kind of been in it since he was running for president.
Nice.
I go way back.
What's up?
What's up, Bobby? So, what we want to do is just make everything healthy again. And ESS 60 is definitely a direct route. So I'm really proud that we're doing this. I did hear Chris all of a sudden say a spinning vortex of the product. I was just like, mm-hmm. We are affecting each other in mysterious ways.
Yeah.
And just the fact that plasma science, needless to say, with intention, we're going to be able to create a better world. So intention is really big. That sounds like a hippie word, but it's not. It's how we move matter. It's how we shift the plasma field is through our thoughts, feelings, words, and actions. We can do this. And I'm super excited that we work with you because you're killing it every day with your shows. And Chris and I are delivering products around the world 5 days a week and getting thank you letters from people that are just grippingly wonderful.
Well, I'm a living testimonial for you guys, and I will always be. And I think I'm just blessed. I wish more people would take this seriously, take this message seriously, take my testimony seriously. Just because I can't deny what I'm feeling, I can't deny what I'm seeing, and the science is confirming it with all my inquiries, especially with relationship to the timelines of ingestion and everything we just talked about. So it all makes perfect sense. And then to see what's going on inside the lab, phenomenal science behind it. Now, Patty, I'll let you answer this question. I mean, my own testimonial answered it, but what would people expect? What should they begin to expect? Notice first once they begin taking the product, and what is the recommended daily protocol? Because Chris mentioned, he does a teaspoon and a half in his coffee of the coconut, and then he does a teaspoon and a half of the olive oil. Okay, so what do you recommend for people to want to experience all these benefits?
We generally recommend our starter set, which is always the olive oil because it's the one that's been used in all the peer-reviewed tests. And the olive oil will impress anyone. And the reason we have facial serum is because I took this olive oil, rubbed it on my face, and went, are you kidding? Rubbed it on my arms, and I was like, wow, there's nothing it doesn't make better, improve. So we are offering still our holiday special because...
Oh, you're still doing it?
Yeah,
Good.
we are. But you better hurry because Chris is giving me the warning, that... But we are so happy to give people this ridiculous offer. If you buy 6, which you can stock up your own cupboard or share with your family and friends because it's amazing, 40% off. If you buy 6 of our number one item, we have 3 offerings at 40% off. If you only want 1, you just go to the website, no problem. If you want 2 or 3, we are offering a special on your landing page.
Yeah, we're looking at the landing page right now.
Yeah. So beautiful, organic, extra virgin, cold pressed olive oil from Tunisia and ESS 60 that we've described perfectly today is the most simple formula, all natural, that's going to change people's lives.
Well, I'm looking at it right here, Patty. People can see it on the screen. Clearly, the 40% off per bottle is what people need to take advantage of because the savings are extraordinary and the benefits really are priceless. So
We have 3 offerings, though. Go down, if you would, because we're offering 3 of our top sellers. There's the 4-ounce bottle. We're doing 6 packs. There's
Okay, so
also
you got the 6 ounce,
Yep.
4 ounce. Yes. Keep going.
The next one is our starter
Yes.
set right there, which
Yes.
is our face formula that is getting ridiculously rave reviews, and you look fabulous. Chris uses
I
it.
got my own. Yeah.
I use it regularly, but this is what we recommend. When people say, what are your best products? What do people really notice? These 2 right here. And it's not that expensive because it's the 4-ounce bottle, a teaspoon a day, and the facial serum morning and night. On the other hand, Chris was so amazed by the facial serum and the testimonials that he calls me a year later and he said, the guys and I at the lab just came up with another facial product. And if you go down a little bit further, you'll see our 2-part facial serum, which just
that
keep
one's not.
going.
Oh, wait. Oh.
Yep, keep going. And it is a 2-part Youth Renew Duo with peptides. So this is another.
Yeah, this is the one. Okay, this is the other one.
And
I was afraid. I'm like, did I bring it out? I'm like, is it in my bathroom right now? Because I use this every day. I use this every day too.
Well,
And,
you're going to get carded pretty soon, Gary, if you keep that up. But the reason we have 2 bottles for the facial serum, and you have to take 15 whole seconds of your life, is to save yourself from having any chemicals or other abominations in a facial serum combo. And you get peptide. So it's a beautiful combo. You do 1 pump of the tall bottle, 2 drops of the oil, and therefore you freshly activate every time you use it and then put it on your face. Fantastic product. And again, a lovely essence. This facial serum has the scent of rosemary oil. Everything that we do has beautiful aromatherapy benefits, as well as the ESS60 miracle molecule. Won the Nobel Prize for a reason. It's friggin' amazing. And I was starting to tell you that you were jealous of my bottle for a long time. Now you've got one. You're also like, I want to see the reactor. Now, I can't say that's going to get you an invitation, but Chris and Robert flew me down when we met, when we knew we wanted to be partners. And I didn't get to go in the lab the first day. They tested me for 24 hours to be sure I was the real deal and all that.
They vetted you. They put you under the hot lights and interrogated you.
They did.
Non-disclosure.
I did a whole whiteboard for the day presentation. And then day 2, he picks me up in the morning at the hotel 6 years ago in a Tesla. I had no idea that they drove themselves. And so he's talking to me like this, and he leans back. And
he puts it, wait, you forgot the part where he had to put the bag over your head so you didn't know where you were going, right? Patty, you just be quiet. Put it out of your head.
I was like, Chris, listen, it's my first time, but please drive. I mean, he took his hands off, feet off. The car was driving itself.
That's that's scary when you see that for the first time.
Yeah. For the first time. So he got a good chuckle, okay, I can get her now. She didn't even know the Tesla thing. But anyway, we get to the lab day 2. They parade me through the lab, which is like 110 degrees. Everything is massive and really, really clean. But then I see this beast in the back, and it is a metal Star Wars machine.
Really?
That sketch is nothing like what I saw. And I get back there and I'm standing in front of it, and all of a sudden, here comes the woo. And I said, Chris, do those arms go up or something? I don't remember. He said, yeah, I thought you weren't technical. How'd you know? And I said, I saw it in a dream. I did. So I saw his machine in a dream. Then he walks me up to it on day 2 when I passed the she's cool test. And Gary, keep doing this, and maybe you'll get an invite to the lab. You won't be able to film the reactor, but you might get to see it and drop your jaw like I did, because this is the real deal. And the funny thing is, this little kid here that looks like he's 30 or 40 invented the damn machine.
No, he's 16 years old. 16. Looks like he's 16.
34 years ago, they reinvented this machine. And when we talk about counter-rotating spinning plasma, you know that's how spaceships work? Counter-rotating spinning plasma. Yeah. Just saying.
Yeah. That's a lot of the UFO technology is all plasma-based, vortices and
counter-rotating
vortices and stuff like that. Ashton Forbes is one of my favorite follows on YouTube and X. If you ever tracked his stuff. He talks a lot about these sciences, with the disappearance of the flight MH370, used a lot of the same plasma technology with respect to how it would create these vortices and how they could actually transported the plane using plasma science from point A to point B on the globe without having to traverse actual time and space. So that's a whole other fascinating level of science that is being suppressed, and a whole other interview.
Well, free energy is all the same.
It's all in the same principles. And you guys have actually are using the same principles in those labs, but in a different capacity, which is just as fascinating.
I did a whole movie about that, and I introduced two guys that are very well known now. Sasha Stone, we know him now, and Dr. David Martin, we know him now, but they were in my movie in 2013 called The Shift Has Hit the Fan, where I interviewed all these rough and raw free energy people. The shift has hit the fan. And it's all counter-rotating spin that's creating free energy, ESS 60, crop circles, spacecraft.
Patty, you just brought it home. You brought it all home for us here, and I think this has probably been one of the most fascinating interviews that we've had.
I warned you.
in every appearance, you guys are always blowing my mind with one more thing, and this has certainly been a beautiful thing. So, folks, I want you guys all to just hit those links, support their work, change your life. That's really all I can say. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
So, Patriots, you just got an exclusive inside look at the lab that manufactures ESS60 and learned about the incredible connection, the plasma connection between crop circle science and Nobel Prize longevity research. 40 years of science. A Texas production facility, Chris and his team doing real work. The graphite transforming through plasma into one of the most powerful antioxidant molecules ever discovered. Spun for 3 weeks with Tunisian olive oil, ends up in this beautiful jar. The Paris study we've talked about before, 90% life extension. This is what I take every day. You heard my story. If you're ready to try it, what you need to do is hit the links down in the description, c60evo.com/NNN right now. And of course, drop your comments because we want to hear your testimony of taking the product. If you have questions, let's talk about it because you guys need to experience this, and let's have a discussion. So the link's down below. We'll see you at the next report.
The system controls information. Information control is power. I want you to see this. The truth only survives together. They don't want this shared. Share this now.